right, so Mr. Frank DiMaggio, thank you for coming to talk to us. As you know, I'm working on this website. It's a resource for people who want to build on hillsides. So why don't you tell us a little about your company, what you do, and how you help people who are looking for land?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Frank DiMaggio. I own MDF Development. We're a luxury design build company based primarily in Paradise Valley, Arizona. We also work in Scottsdale and Phoenix, of course, but most of our work is in Paradise Valley. And what I think is kind of our unique niche is you know not only am I really the developer of MDF Development, but I'm also the managing partner of Compass, which is the largest brokerage in North America and really the leading luxury brokerage here in the Paradise Valley Scottsdale market. So, I kind of wear two hats and I bring both of those knowledge to the table when I'm dealing with somebody who wants to build a house, especially something as complicated and unique as building on the hillside. So, when you're looking at building something specifically on the hillside, having a quality builder, an experienced builder who knows how to build on the hillside is important, but knowing the land is just as important as having a great builder who can do the project. And I think that's really where I try to separate myself from a lot of the other people in the market is I'm constantly out there looking at dirt for myself, looking at dirt for my clients, and really understanding what the dirt is. That really gives us the best chance as to how buildable the lot is, how much lot prep is going to be needed to get a buildable pad, and what type of return on their investment they would get, whether it be an investor or a homeowner, on not only the money but also the time in prepping, what would be a hillside lot. I think the other thing about being on the hillside, a lot of people want to be on the hillside because of the views and all the unique things that come with that. But I think one of the things that people really need to understand is the time, and the additional time takes, the additional steps you have to go through to build on the hillside. And I think they should prepare themselves accordingly in the beginning, so that it's not something that they're kind of caught, after they've already acquired the dirt. So I like to be a part of the process from the very beginning all the way through. I like to try to meet clients when they're deciding, hey, we're going to build on the hillside. What's my first resource? I'm hoping they come to somebody like me, because then I can kind of shepherd them through the process, not only from acquiring the dirt itself, but also locating the correct architect, locating the correct landscape architect, hopefully building out the project for them. And then if the day ever comes and they have to sell it, I can kind of fill that entire void for them all the way through. Um, so yeah, that's who we are. That's what I do.
All right, that's pretty awesome. So you touched on a few things that I think are important, especially for someone just looking for land that maybe is not as experienced. But talk to us a little bit about, you use the word buildable and preparing the pad to be buildable. What does that kind of mean to you, and how can you help someone understand what that is when they're just looking for the land?
Yeah, there's a difference between looking at a hillside lot that has already had a structure on it, and then maybe just raw dirt, raw land. So everybody kind of wants to be higher up on the mountain because they feel like, the higher up that I get, usually the better the view. Well, typically the higher up you get, normally the slope is much more extreme, and the buildability of that lot or the prep of that lot is going to be a lot more intense than if you're kind of at that slow sloping portion of the mountain as it's just starting to go up. I actually have a lot right now that's kind of like that. It's really that slow sloping portion. It's got a great view. $5 million for an acre and a half. To give you an idea of how expensive a hillside lot could be. But I think the value of that is you're going to get a lot more parking, and you're probably going to get the ability to put a lot more landscape on it, because you've got more of a gentle slope. When you get up higher up in the mountain, yes, your view may be a little bit better, but you're probably just digging out the area where you're going to build the actual house and just a little bit around it. So you're not going to have that same landscape impact, and probably the cost of excavating when you get up higher is going to be incrementally higher.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, so sometimes maybe the money is better spent, on landscaping and things that are going to kind of add beauty to, when you arrive to your home, than just trying to, blow up a rock because you want to get up higher on the site there.
Yeah, some people want that kind of, for the client that wants that condo type feel, then higher up on the mountain does make a lot of sense because they're looking for that lock and leave. They're looking for low maintenance. They don't really want a really lush landscape. They want it to be more minimalistic. And for that type of client, yeah, going higher up and just digging out the size of the property that they're looking for makes a lot of sense. The condo type buyer, if you want to classify them as that, who's kind of looking for that elevation, that view, but typically minimal maintenance. Usually they don't have lots of kids and lots of dogs and lots of pets and all that kind of stuff. They probably wouldn't be looking for a condo type situation. So it might only be two people. They might be traveling a lot, and that could be a good option for them. But if you are looking for that more yard type feel, landscape type feel, which I think makes a huge difference in a project, then lower down on the mountain is probably going to be your better option than higher up.
That makes sense. And then, yeah, you mentioned pricing. So you said something about 5 million for 1.5 acre. Talk to us a little bit about what are the factors in being either more expensive, less expensive. Of course, there's location, but yeah, just kind of go through a few of those factors that might increase cost or decrease cost.
Yeah, so I've been very blessed to have been a part of the transactions that have been the most expensive land acquisitions or sales in Arizona history. So I do have the current record right now, which was a piece of dirt that sold for 7 million for 1.2 acres. I
Nice.
had before that I had the previous record two before that, which was I sold a 2 acre parcel for 7 million, and I have one right now that's an acre and a half for five. But what I'm really proud of is I have one under contract right now that will be the most expensive single property piece of land in Paradise Valley history, which is it's under contract for 12.5 million for just one lot for one house. So really excited about that. But yeah, so what was your question? Forgot. You're gonna have to
So,
edit that.
well, one, that's awesome. So that's great. It's just what are the things? So what makes that piece of land that's,
Oh,
it's
right,
selling
right,
for
right.
12 million?
Yeah,
What makes it worth 12
yeah.
million?
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
question you're asking is really what would separate a $2 million lot from a $12.5 million lot.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about non-hillside, you're typically looking for the flattest piece that has the best views, the least road noise, the best sun orientation, and really in the best part of town. And best part of town is subjective. Some people like one part of town over another for a gamut of reasons. It could be the view that it has, the way that it looks at Camelback, the side of Camelback that it sees, the amount of greenery that it sees. I've heard all kinds of things. When it comes to the hillside, I would say a combination of the lot's buildability and the view is probably the most important things. How much of the mountain can we take out? How flat of a pad can we get? How big of a footprint can we get? Whether that be the size of the house or whether that be the amount of landscape and parking that we can put around the house. On the hillside, generally, because it's harder to excavate as much of the mountain as you would like, you see a lot more two-story. And in Arizona, um, that's typically not the most expensive real estate. People in Arizona really want that single level. A lot of people look at their Arizona house as their last house. And that might be if they're buying it when they're 40 or if they're buying it when they're 80. But they always think to themselves, if I have other properties, or if my primary residence is in the Midwest somewhere, or in the Northwest, at some point I may end up in Arizona. I may retire to Arizona. It's got a great climate. We have so many golf courses. We have so many great restaurants. We've got a great airport. So they may end up here. And if they do, and they think about themselves in their 70s and 80s and beyond, they don't want to be in a two-story home. They really want to be in a single-story home. So if you can get on the hillside and you can get a pad big enough to put a single-story house with a great view, I mean, really, that's probably the gold standard. And that would be your most expensive lot.
Got it. And then you would, since you have that experience, you could help guide someone who came to you, hey, how much house can I build on this lot? And you could guide them. You've read the hillside ordinances. You kind of know, right, how much someone can,
Yeah,
at least to a certain extent. Yeah.
yeah, I think I know enough to be dangerous for sure. I probably know more than most of the probably almost all the real estate agents out there. But I think when you're talking about something, especially building on the hillside or building a big estate in Paradise Valley or Scottsdale or Arcadia, I think early on the way that I go through the process is I put the team together as quickly as possible. So I start to get the architect involved. I start to get the landscape architect involved. I start to get the designer involved right away because everybody's going to bring a unique skill set and expertise to the table. And even if we're looking at just the land, um, 99% of the time I've got the architect walking on the dirt with us. Once we've identified it, if we get it under contract, I want to get the civil engineer and I want to get the architect out there. I want them to walk the property with us, give us some feedback on what they're feeling as far as what the client's objectives are, or if it's an investor, what their objectives are, and how likely that would be to get on the piece of dirt that we're looking at. So, yeah, I think I wear a lot of hats, but I think a project is great when you put a great team together early and get them through the entire process right from the jump.
Awesome. Well, Frank, that was very insightful. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Nick.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay.
Frank DiMaggio, everyone, I'll have his information down on the page if should you be looking for land or should you just have questions. He's kind of done it all with hillsides and especially in Paradise Valley. So thanks again, Frank.
Thanks again, Nick. Have a good day.
See you.